Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of the Financial Independence Europe podcast. Today with me is Tanel. It's called Tanel, really?
Tanel, right? Tanel, yeah.
Tanel. Okay, and you're from Reinvest24 hours, like the day. And that's a real estate P2P lending platform. And I hope you can also teach me a little bit about the features and what it can do for investors. So pretty much an episode about peer-to-peer lending. I think we haven't had this in the podcast for a couple of months, but I have the feeling that now there's some more traction in the market, in the peer-to-peer market right now. But I just would like to ask you about that. But maybe first of all, you can introduce yourself and maybe what's your backstory, how did it happen that you're the CEO of Reinvest24 and so on? Maybe just, let us know a bit about it.
Yes, sure. So my name is Tanel Orro. I'm the CEO of Reinvest24. We are a real estate crowdfunding platform operating from Tallinn, Estonia. My background is that before Reinvest24, I worked in LHV asset management for 4.5 years. I was leading my own team there and mostly focusing on retirement funds, second and third pillar. And the story how I became the CEO of the platform goes back a bit more than 2.5 years, just when the platform was launched. Well, actually, the platform wasn't launched when the story began. So one of the main founders of Reinvest24, the CTO, has been like building the whole technology part of this platform. We participated both in internship program in USA. That's basically is for university students from Tallinn. Well, actually, it's all around Europe. It's quite a popular program. So we were in USA for 4 months, selling, basically running our own business, where we sold educational content, books, and some subscriptions over the internet. DVDs and so on, basically door to door. It's a pretty cool internship. One of the things is that you can run your own business and make money. The other thing is that you're going to face a lot of problems in the progress, and you're all by yourself, so you need to solve all those problems. So this basically gives you a thick skin to get started in life. The CTO participated before me, as he's older than me, but the alumni, everyone who's been participating in this program, are very close. It's a close community in Estonia. And we have these yearly events where pretty much everyone is coming who can. And this is how I met Kirill. He told me about his idea about the B2B platform. I was investing in some platforms myself earlier, some years ago. Unfortunately, it was my first experience was consumer loans, and I lost some part of my portfolio to bad loans. We didn't diversify enough, and made some mistakes there. So I was leaning towards the real estate. I feel that there need to be some kind of collateral behind your investment. Otherwise, there is really no guarantee. I mean, platforms can give you some buyback guarantees or things like that, but they're not really valid when you need them. It's just more like, for me, I feel that it's more like a marketing trick, how to make me feel secured. But it's actually as strong as the company is. And if companies having difficulties, then, most likely it will be, you're not going to be able to use this buyback guarantee. So I was leaning towards real estate. And the idea was with Reinvest24 to fund rental projects collectively. Not lend to third parties. This is not the main focus, but rather purchase collectively the properties that we will operate. And we're basically giving the same benefits and security to our investors as being a passive landlord and just owning a small part of that project. So I really like the idea. I'm by heart, I'm an entrepreneur. I was at a stage of my life where I needed to choose if I want to continue my career or I want to be an entrepreneur. So I felt that this idea was excellent. As working with a lot of investors, mostly retail investors in LHV, I kept hearing that the funds and stocks and all this kind of stuff is they don't trust it as much. They rather see that real estate is something that will be there in 20 years, 30 years once they retire. And this is the real retirement fund to own some real estate. So I really like the idea because the entry barrier to enter into these investments, like buying your own rental properties, and the entry barrier is just very high. Not everyone can afford to get started. And if you have more than one apartment or more than one property, then it can become a full-time job for you, or you're going to need to buy some service that someone will manage it for you. So the idea that you can invest just 100 euros and you don't need to take care of the properties, there is a professional team taking care of everything, I really liked it. So I took some time to consider it, and then I just jumped on board just at the time when Reinvest24 was launched. It was about 2.5 years ago from now.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned a couple of things. So you met the CTO. Is he still with the company that you have? He's still in the company. And you met him in the United States with this entrepreneurial program?
No, I didn't met in USA. We did both the same internship. And we met later on in the event that
the alumni network. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And he was happy that he's not don't have to run the whole company alone and has somebody who's taking care of the business side of the venture, basically.
Yes. Well, there were two funders. Mm-hmm. One of them was a real estate agency that wanted to take care of all the real estate operations and management part, mm-hmm. and finding the properties, doing the due diligence and so on. Mm-hmm. And Kirill was wanting to focus on the technology side, developing the platform. So that gave them the that gave them the opportunity to focus on these things. And I'm the one who's operating the platform and managing the business side.
Yes, that's now because I was looking at LinkedIn for Reinvest24, and then I have seen just you and Victoria. I thought, okay, it's sales and marketing, but who is building the platform and who is doing the deal flow and legal and so on? But now I understood that you have an agency who's taking care of that, and the CTO maybe just mentioned Reinvest or misspelled it somehow so that I couldn't see it on LinkedIn, basically. And where we just talk about the technology part, maybe we can just finish that one. It's a kind of the front end, and then there's also some back end. And he's doing both basically, or have you some service or some kind of product that is operating the back end basically?
Yeah, we have an IT team in Latvia who is working for us. There are 3 people. One of them is working with the front end, and then the lead developer is building the functionalities on the back end, and Kirill is the one who's leading this team. He's been working with them previously with some other projects, so he knows their competence that they're able to do things correctly. As in the we're in the finance sector. You can't allow any mistakes.
So he's basically the architect and has some other people to work together.
Yeah.
Cool. And as I understood from a business model perspective, you're buying the properties, and it's not like that they are funded, but you still keep them and operate them over the next years, basically, when they are funded, because you mentioned they are operated also by Reinvest24.
Sure. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. So we basically use separate private limited companies, which are called SPVs, for each property. The only goal for this company is to purchase the property and to stay operating it. This company this SPV will pay out all the rental income. Of course, the costs will be paid first. We take 10% operating fee, and the rest will be divided between the investors.
What fees? So if I'm going to your platform and just invest into the property, I'm getting what's the performance I can expect from the real estate properties, from the deals?
Yeah. So with our rental projects, for example, we have two income sources. First of all, it's the same as owning the property. Basically, there is the rental income that the property produces, and then there is the value appreciation. As the market is growing, over time as well, we're doing some renovational works to increase the value, or some legal works to change the legal status of the property, which also increase the value. And the capital growth part will be received once the property is exited. We also order new appraisal reports once a year to adjust the book value of those properties. As we have now launched the secondary market, and investors are able to exit earlier if they need to.
Yes.
So there need to be some bookmark of the valuation, current valuation, and some properties come under market value. I mean, basically all the properties, we always try to negotiate to get the properties under the market value. So new appraisal report can drastically change the valuation.
And so in which countries are the properties? I've seen some in Moldavia and also in Spain. Was it Spain? At least Latvia, I think. Or which markets are you operating and buying the properties?
Yeah, so currently all our rental projects are in Estonia. We have exited some of them. You asked before, what is the returns you can expect? The exited properties, the 11 exited properties have generated on average more than 14% annual income for our investors. So we have in Latvia, we have development projects. And in Moldova, we have also development projects. They are in cooperation with international developer Kuetzal Holding. And we are on those markets as we see, as we're able to provide more attractive yield. As you can see, the interest rates are between 13 and 15%. And we just opened the Spain market today. Actually, we launched our first project in Spain. And this project type is actually buy to sell, which is not lending to third parties. It will be, it's our own SPV, same way as a rental projects. It's 100% owned by Reinvest Holding. We have two employers there who are monitoring the construction works. We're basically renovating the building and selling the apartments. So this is a bit different property type that we just launched today.
All right. And for how long are investors investing in these properties? Is it different for these countries, or is it just the same? So what's the term in months?
Well, with the development loans, we have terms usually between 9 to 12 months. In the past, we had a bit longer projects, but currently we're focusing on trying to keep them not longer than 12 months. But with our rental project, it really depends. We don't set any exit dates. We rather observe the market, and if we find a buyer with the right price, then we are open to negotiate selling. But otherwise, if the property is well secured with good rental contracts and the cash flow is very stable, then we don't see a reason why we should exit them. Rather, we want to give investors opportunity to exit through the secondary market if they need to, and stay as long as they want to. As we have many investors who are looking to just have like long-term passive income through Reinvest rental projects.
Okay, basically 12 months with the development projects, and you can stay in as long as you want with the rental. With the rental deals, except if you sell them, basically.
Then it's going to be forced buyback, and you're going to be exiting with a premium.
So what would you say is, if you see this in the mix for people who want to be financially independent, as you mentioned, passive income, what would you say, at which stage of life is this a good investment opportunity? Is it good to start with it when you are 18, or would you say it's good to put it into the mix when you're kind of income investor and you already have a certain amount of money? What would you say when it's a good idea to go for these deals?
Well, I would say that the time is the most important thing here. And if you're waiting for something in your life to get started, I mean, the entry barrier is €100. So like, even if you're saving on your bank account €100 per month and receiving basically 0.1% interest per year, which is lower than inflation, so in long term you're actually losing value of your money, then I mean, it's okay to start with just €100 a month. You don't need to be rich, like many people think that investing is for rich people. You don't need to have a certain amount of money to get started. If you invest just €100 per month and you're reinvesting your monthly income that you receive from that rental project, and you keep doing that for 30 years, you will most likely end up with a portfolio between 500,000 and €1 million. So the compound interest, first of all, you're able to reinvest monthly. That will have a huge impact if your strategy lasts for 5 or 10 or more years. And I mean, like, just waiting, the time is against you if you're waiting.
Yes.
If you are investing, then time is working for you.
Yeah, I've also talked to some student today, and I was talking about like ETF. So she asked me 1 year ago where to invest, and I said, yeah, just start with a Vanguard All World ETF and put maybe €25 in it just to get the experience and to learn. And I asked today if she had started, but she said no. I don't know.
Yeah, it's most likely the most difficult part is to get started, to make the first transaction. Yeah. But yeah, with the ETFs, if you're buying them, I mean, €25 investment really doesn't make that much sense. I mean, for just trying it out, of course, it's great, but the transaction fees are just too high to invest €25 per one transaction.
It's I think it's 1% for the transaction, and it doesn't depend on the value you put in, at least for this certain bank in Germany.
Yeah, so it's different. There are different
in countries, I think. But yeah, I think it's.
But yeah, I mean, even if you have €25 in, then your focus is more on it, and you're eager to learn more and know more, and you're observing more. So definitely, even just to invest €25, go through the process.
It's just for the process and to learn and to monitor it, and because if you just start with 30 and then maybe you have already 20,000-30,000. Then you haven't learned about it, then you lose a lot of money because you have too much. And how would you say for peer-to-peer lending and maybe other types of assets like stocks or ETFs and so on, what would you say would be a good asset allocation to put it in the mix?
Well, I would say that the stock markets need some market knowledge. You shouldn't be like throwing darts at the board and just thinking that you're diversifying enough. You should like go through the annual reports of those companies and look deeper into them, understanding their potential and before investing. Otherwise, but I mean, you can just invest in some indexes which cover and diversify for you. And it's pretty safe. I think long term, I would say that some indexes would be the best way to go with stock markets. The ETFs are also great investment instruments. I support them as well. P2P lending as well. I mean, all of those instruments that you mentioned are worth looking into and having in your portfolio. You just need to build your own portfolio and proportions that you're comfortable with. And usually it's smart to understand the risks and where are you actually investing, where is this profit coming from, and so on. So just take it one by one, test with a smaller amount, observe it, learn more about it, and just continue.
Yeah, I think it's. I think you can start also with maybe with ETF, and then add another asset class where you have to monitor more closely. Because for me, it was very time consuming to monitor all the peer-to-peer loans and so on, to really understand the risk. And I think you have to look into it maybe daily or weekly. That's why I reduced a little bit the allocation, but I still like peer-to-peer, especially if you see it from an income perspective. For example, if you would like to go part-time, or if you want to build a business and you already have a little bit of money, then you can provide you with just some passive income until you maybe get your business up and running and so on. And also later when you're older, then of course it could also provide you with some pension and so on, or some additional cash flow. Yeah. Very good. So what's the use? Maybe going back to your product, just want to understand the USP maybe compared to other real estate platforms. I think there are a couple of real estate platforms in Europe, and maybe Estate Guru. I think what's the difference, or what are you trying? Where are you trying to stand out?
Yeah. So my first opinion when we got started is that I don't want to compete with Estate Guru. I don't want to offer the same product that the Estate Guru is already doing very successfully. They are working with development loans, lending to third parties who build those new developments and sell them to repay or refinance through banks or so on. So our unique selling point is definitely the rental projects, as well as buy to sell projects, where we don't lend the money to third parties. We only lend. The only partner that we have in those development projects is quite big international development who we trust, who has track record and who has the experience to complete those projects successfully on time. We don't want to just accept any small developer who doesn't get the funding from the bank and then just comes to the alternative finance to maybe find some platform that accepts the project, but there is no really experience behind it, and the project could fail. I mean, there is collateral, which is a great thing, but this is something that you never want to go there. No platform wants to go there to start taking over the property, which can also take a lot of time, a lot of efforts. It can end up in the court and so on. So we want to be sure that our developer that we work with, the third party that we lend to, is competent and experienced to complete these projects well. But yeah, the rental project is something that, at least in our region in Baltics, no platform is offering. We're the only one. And in the same time, the Baltics actually, the rental projects, the rental properties perform and provide the best yields in the Eurozone, actually. It's between 6 to 7%. Only Ireland is at a similar level, but there the market is not as stable as here. It's going more up and down. So there is the opportunity in our local market, which we know really well. We are working with a real estate agency that's been working on this type of projects for more than 10 years. So we have the market knowledge, we have the opportunity, and no one else is offering this type of investments. So this is our main focus, and this is our unique selling point. I would also say that the secondary market that we just launched is quite unique for P2P platforms as well. It works more like a stock market where users can buy and sell their orders partially. I mean, you don't need to find someone to buy your whole position in a project. You can find basically there can be 100 buyers, and that provides more liquidity. And that by the end of the first month, this has already proven to be the way to go, as there are no discounted deals on the secondary market, and everyone who needed the money to COVID or who've been waiting for the secondary market to exit, they've been able to do so. So so the rental projects and the secondary market. We also make what is unique about us as well is that we make property overviews. I mean, I go on the site, I talk about the strong points, I show the property myself to our investors. You can find those videos on our YouTube channel, Reinvest24.
I didn't get it. You're really going to the properties and you're making a movie and so on. That's where people, because I think last year or there were some platforms where there actually was no deal and they just place it on the platform, and you want to bring some confidence to investors that there's really a property and it's really something they can touch and have as a collateral. That's good. And I've also seen that that it's really huge properties. It's not just one house, or it's really maybe multi-tenant house of 20 units, or it was really huge building. So you need really a professional developing company that can deal with such a big objects, I would say.
Yep.
And there are two. First of all, I also want to mention the secondary market. I really like the user interface. So it's really intuitive that you understand at what price you buy a certain share, because you cannot buy all shares at one price. And I think there's a bidding mechanism, or you start with the cheapest share.
Yeah, you start with the cheapest share. You cannot buy you're always buying the cheapest share first. It needs some improvement still. We have many things that we didn't launch with the initial launch that are still in progress, mostly in the front end, just to make it more user friendly and more understandable for everyone who's who's just maybe first time using
perfect.
it.
So that was my remark to the secondary market interface, which is really neat, I would say, from a user experience point of view. And there's investors can also, they don't have to buy, they can, but they don't have to buy invest in the property deals on your website. But there's also on Evo Estate, there's also the opportunity to buy a share. Is it true? Are there also other aggregators where people can invest, or just Evo Estate for the moment?
For the moment, it's just Evo Estate, but we are in the progress already to integrate two other aggregators. So one of them is from Spain, and the other one is from the Baltics, but they're pretty new and they are in the progress of launching their platform. So with Evo Estate, we've been working around 1.5 years already, and it's been great to see how they also grow in the whole process. And I mean, these kind of aggregators, they're making life easier for many investors. Just to keep track on, they don't need to keep track on different platforms. They can just concentrate everything on one platform and just invest through there. I would say that it benefits more smaller investors. I would say that if you're investing bigger amounts, then it's more useful to do it directly, as you have another middleman. So you have two platform risks here. Even if Reinvest24 goes well, you still have the risk that something happens with Evo Estate, and the collaterals are not directly on your name; they are on Evo Estate name, and so on. So there are some additional risks coming from there. But at the same time, the benefits are the convenience of not needing to be on everywhere.
Yeah, for the discovery and so on, it's maybe good. And if you invest smaller amounts, then you just need one account and so on. But I understand that there are also advantages to go directly to a website. Are there any other advantages? For example, the secondary market, I think they also can't access the secondary market on Evo Estate right now. True?
There actually is a secondary market on Evo Estate, but it works the same way as pretty much all the other P2B platforms, that you need to find a buyer for your whole position. It doesn't work like an order book where you like it is in Reinvest24. This is like a small advantage. The bigger advantage is still the risk aspect, that You're not. We offer you a very secure collateral, but you here with investing through Evostate, you have a middleman who actually has control over that.
And as you're still a startup, I would say, do you have funding from angel investors, or is the agency owning a share in the company, or how much time, or what's your burn rate, but how long can you sustain with the current money and so on?
We are actually, so the real estate agency made initial funding for us, which was big enough to get us here where we are now. And we've been working with very low cost. Actually, we're not the platform who is throwing the money everywhere and having like 30 or 50 employers doing big marketing campaigns and so on. We actually been growing pretty organically. Most of our users been coming through referral programs, affiliates. We don't do ads, or we don't have many people employed. So we are very cost efficient with our small team. And the Reinvest24 is actually generating already enough revenue to be sustainable. So we don't have any runway. We actually are already profitable. But still it's not it's what satisfies us. I mean, we wanted to get here without the external funding. But now that we are here, we are ready to start growing more rapidly with some bigger marketing budgets, with some additional employers, to start the scaling process, opening more markets. For that, we are planning to raise money in the beginning of next year, just to speed up the growth.
Yes, understand. And how? Because I also asked the Facebook group the questions, or if I can ask any questions on behalf of Facebook people who are still on Facebook, and they ask just, are you legit? I think we have to differentiate a little bit to find out. I think you already answered a couple of gave some arguments why it's legit, or why investors can have trust because of the profit of the collateral and so on, and because your agency and the developer company. Is there any other things you can mention? Are you in the European crowdfunding network, a member of that, or plan to do so?
Well, we're actually looking forward to the European Union crowdfunding regulations that were, I think, it was in the beginning of last month. They were approved, and they will be in force in the next year summer. So we're already preparing for that. But currently, we're not regulated. We don't have license in that regards. But if we talk about the scam platforms, then I would really like to point out that anyone with the fraudulent intentions, I believe will stay away from real estate. If we look in the past, the platforms in the beginning of the year, in the first part of the year, that turned out to be scams, none of them worked with real estate. They were lending platforms. We're working with loan originators that were actually fake companies, or there were no contracts with them, or so on. So the reason why I think it's safe to say that no one who wants to scam or build a scam platform will work with real estate agencies, it's because all the most important information is publicly available in the land registries. You can go check if the collateral is in place, if like we're telling that, our SPV will purchase this property and stay operating it, you can verify that very easily. You can see the ownership, you can see the collaterals, you can see all this information. So this is this is something that is a must for due diligence if you're concerned about if the platform is scamming or fraudulent or so on, rather than looking into their annual reports or stuff like that. It's not really giving. You can fake all those things, but you cannot fake the land registries. You cannot fake the ownership. You cannot fake the collaterals, which are all stated there. So just go check those things out. You will have a very good overview of what the platform is doing very quickly without needing to like scroll around and sitting like doing hours on hours of like research.
Standing in front of the office, but now you don't need an office because of the lockdown. Basically, you can also work at home.
But the scam platforms, it's easy to just everything can be faked. I mean, you can have even the Grupeer case probably. Yeah. So they had like 30 plus employers, nice offices. The bloggers and the affiliates were coming there. They made like tours to them, and everything seemed very legitimate. But it doesn't mean that at the end of the investment everything is correct. Like you can fake those things. Annual reports look perfect. Everything looked well. But to verify where the money is actually going and if there are actual contracts, it can be quite difficult. With real estate, it's very easy to verify.
It's much easier to verify, and there are even big German banks like Wirecard who also have thousands of employees and still have been scammed. Do you know each other? I mean, all of the platforms are kind of in the Baltics. Do you know each other, or do you know the guys from Evostate or from Swapper or from? I mean, for me, it's all northeast. Is there a meetup, or do you meet in the sauna, or just? I mean, because it's also close.
We meet in the conferences mostly, but the actual story with the platforms is that many P2B platforms are registered in Estonia, but they're actually not here in Estonia. They are not operated by Estonians. The only Estonian platforms are really Reinvest24, Estate Guru, Crowd Estate, and then there is Pandora and some lending platforms. All the rest of them are actually operating from some other areas, as well as Envestio, Kuetzal were registered in Estonia, but they weren't run by Estonian people and they didn't do it from Estonia. So I didn't have any idea who those people actually are. With Estate Guru and Crowd Estate, I know them pretty well. I mean, we have conferences, for example, where we see each other and where we talk to each other, and we think that the environment between all the platforms is pretty friendly, even though we're like competitors. Everyone is rather trying to work together to not bring let's say that to bring out the Baltics as a positive place to invest in.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, you can also make the pie bigger, and everybody's getting a bigger chunk. Is there anything else you would maybe tell people to gain even more trust? Maybe that I forgot to ask. What you would like to put out? Why people should invest and have the confidence?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're looking to invest into B2B crowd lending, crowdfunding, then I would really suggest you to invest into something that think about the worst case scenarios. What can happen if the platform goes down or the investments just goes bad and defaulting? There need to be some kind of collateral, something tangible that can recover your funds. If you're investing into something that is unsecured, there are cases with Envestio and Kuetzal where that they're giving out you promises that there is buyback guarantee or something like this. It's not really going to work out when you need it. But if there is real estate, you can verify that there is actual collateral, then your money is pretty safe. I mean, the worst case scenario is that you need to wait if the project defaults or the platform goes bankrupt. You just need to wait until you get your money back. Yes. You might face some losses through the whole process, but most part of your capital will be restored. And this is something that I think investors really need to understand. Especially we're talking about unregulated markets. There are all kinds of platforms. Everyone can basically set up a company in Estonia. Everyone can set up a platform. They can be bought in actually for like 20 or 20,000. You already have all the functionalities, and you can start promoting whatever there. Like this is this investment, and you can earn like 30% from here or that. And if you look at the real platforms that have good track records, who are trusted, Then if you compare the real estate investments with unsecured loans, then the interest rates is pretty much similar. There isn't much difference, at least in Baltics.
Yes.
The real estate provides really high yield as well. So what's the point of taking higher risk if you're not really earning more? So yeah, this is something that I really like to point out.
That's a good point. If you see that you can earn with consumer loans like 10 or 12%, then why not putting the money into real estate? That makes sense. And would you consider yourself, you consider yourself as an originator, not a platform, or because the definition is kind of fuzzy for some people, they say platform. To some company, I would say it's an originator, but how do you define that and what are you?
I would say that we are a real estate investment platform. In a simple words, yeah.
Okay, because
just real estate investment platform, yeah. So we are as well as crowdfunding. I mean, you can put many names on us. Crowdfunding is more correct, I would say, as we are funding the projects that we are. The main focus is the rental projects where we want to own the properties, and we're not crowd lending. We're rather collectively buying, which is crowdfunding.
Because for Evostate, you just mentioned this. These are our originators. So for them, you're an originator. But if you consider yourself,
we are originating the deals ourselves. We don't work with loan originators. Envestio is not originating any deals. They all come through the platforms, which are in that sense, we are originator for them. But as you can invest directly, we're not the originator. We are actually the investment platform or crowdfunding platform.
So it depends on the perspective or where you look.
Yep.
And now you kind of, what's your traction? Do you have also increasing loan volume and growing? Is it growing right now, the business? Because I've seen on, I think on peer-to-peer banking, there's these statistics, and now you're part of it. And that's why I just need to look it up again. But do you have a good traction? Let me look at it. Reinvest. Okay. 0.3. And where do you want to be in 5 years, and how are you trying to accelerate, basically? Last question.
Well, I would say the main goal here for us is, for me, my vision is to build a rental properties portfolio worth over 100 millions. In many different geolocations. Just that, from just operating these properties from our operating fee, we already will be very profitable and sustainable throughout market cycles. We're not depending on the growth that much, even if the P2P industry will slow down or the economy in the world will crash, like back in 2008. With the development loans, with loan originators, a lot of investments, a lot of platforms will be gone together with it. But I feel that with rental projects, it's sustainable throughout market cycles. There can be some short periods where the property doesn't produce income, but if you have big enough portfolio, then the rental income is sustainable, and it's also our monthly recurring revenue. So that will get us through basically everything.
Yeah. Okay, understood. And maybe just to finish it up, maybe just a couple of questions, because you are also now an entrepreneur, as you mentioned. Is there any role model what you have or what you're following? Maybe Gary Vee or anybody else?
Yeah, I actually like Gary Vee. But I would say my role models are more closer people to me, and most likely they're not as like a celebrities that everyone would know them. I've been having like more closer mentors in my life who've been helping us and who've been helping me. I mean, to find my own direction in life. And maybe I just would like to say that for the personal development, I would really suggest if you're young, invest in yourself, travel a lot, do uncomfortable things that you never done before, because this will expand your comfort zone, and everything else in life will become more easier to you. Have good habits. I'm really working on my habits. This is something that I learned from the Southwestern program, where the habits were basically everything. And you read a lot of things you really don't understand, even if you read them or someone tells you, or you're watching some podcasts or interviews or stuff like that. You don't really, even if someone tells you directly, you don't really understand it until you try it yourself and live through it yourself, and then you will really start to understand it. So experience life. Don't be afraid. Be outside of your comfort zone, and challenge yourself to do things that don't feel as safe and secure, like just staying at your home or at safe job, or rather expand and live in full. This is my advice. Why I'm telling this is that when I turned 18, I went with my best friend to Australia with a working holiday visa. So I just basically fly there, and I was just 18, and I was in the Sydney. I remember we had a place to live booked for 2 weeks, and then we really didn't know what's going to happen next. So we needed to find a job, we needed to find a place to live, and so on. So this experience really opened my worldview, expanded the view that I had on the world. Especially living here in Estonia, Tallinn. It's not very huge city. Before turning 18, I didn't travel that much, so it was really life-changing experience. I remember I was reading the Alchemist book called The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho, and it was really. I mean, it was. I remember it. It was the sky was full of stars. We were basically camping on a countryside, working in a farm, living in a tent, and I was reading this book, and it really changed the way that I was seeing things in life. Let's put it that way. And it really opened my eyes for the bigger picture.
For the bigger picture, and maybe having gaining a abundance mindset, I would say. That's what most people say. Definitely worth traveling also if you're younger, but also if you're older, of course. And I wanted to ask you what book or podcast or video or YouTube channel or whatever you could suggest. We already replied to this because you mentioned the Alchemist book. So I would like to thank you very much for the insights. Or you can also have, if you have another book that's interested for our audience, then just.
Well, yeah, I have actually, but it's Estonian author, so I'm not sure that it's even written in English. It's Estonian book fully. So I would rather if someone reads The Alchemist because of looking at this podcast, I'm already very happy.
Okay, otherwise you can just send me the name of the book, and I will put it in the show notes, and people can look it up if they are able to speak the language. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the insight on real estate, peer-to-peer investing, and have a nice weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was great to discuss these topics.